Hello, this is Father Rich coming to you from our beautiful courtyard here at Our Lady of Peace, in between the church and the rectory in our back patio. I'm here before a statue of St. Francis of Assisi and a bird bath that we have, and also a plaque that has the prayer of St. Francis there. And the last time we talked about him, I think it was at the first essay of our series, about how St. Francis brought about the first nativity scene. But we know he did so much more. And the individual that's the focus of this essay that we have today in our series on how the church has changed the world was inspired by St. Francis. In fact, he was a contemporary of him, never met him. This man was from Spain. But the name of the article has his name in it, Ramon, Llull, Missionary to the Muslims. And so around in the 1200s, he was living in Spain. He became a very well educated and was in the king's court of King James of Aragon, and in Spain. And in the midst of that, he had become married. The suggestion was he was quite promiscuous and caught up in worldly love and worldly attractions. And at the age of 30, he had a significant conversion as he was writing a poem to love and had a vision of Jesus being crucified and had this insight that this was the greatest love that we're called to, the sacrificial love that we would say, the Greek word agape, that we as Christians are called to. And so committed his life to Christianity. He became and followed the spirituality of St. Francis, became a third order lay Franciscan, a tertiary as they call it, and specifically committed himself to the missions to the Muslims. He had grown up in a very mixed environment in Spain with both Muslim and Christian presence. And so one of the things he did was committed to his own learning of Arabic and the ways of the Muslims, to understand their religion and their language, and to encourage others to be missions to the Muslims. He actually went around to quite a few of the kingly courts in France and Italy and Spain to try to convince the Christian leaders to commit to creating colleges to support the Catholic missionaries going to the Muslims. He would have some success, but not a whole lot, to be honest with you. But eventually the church would adopt this some 200 years later, in developing such colleges. They say that St. Junipero Serra actually went to one of these colleges before he went to start the California missions. We talked about him last week. So eventually had some success, but he was also a great mystic. He was amazing. He was a mathematician, a logician, meaning logic. He wrote his attempt was to defend the faith and to kind of debate the Muslims through logic. And questionable as to how much success he had on the ground. He actually spent more time in trying to set the stage for these schools and training of missionaries than he did in missionary work, kind of ironically. One of his last missionary trips, of several I think that he took to Northern Africa, that was the place he was most committed to trying to help do the missions to the Muslims. He kind of was, they say, it was believed that he was kicked out of the country. There's some dispute as to whether he was actually stoned or just rejected and eventually died on his way back to Spain. Some suggest he was martyred and stoned. Others say he just died at the age of, I think, in his lower 80s. So really an interesting figure in the fact that he was so well learned but so committed to helping try to bring and make the faith understandable to Muslims, the Christian faith, and adopting that spirituality of Francis. Remember, Francis himself went to the Sultan. He had gone to the Holy Land and was very well respected by the Muslims, even though obviously, not major conversion there either. So this constant challenge we have to do the work of trying to see how our faith can dialogue with the people in the Islam faith, but also to know that our language is different than theirs, not only what we speak, but the language of love. Some of these things are not as understandable to them, and that's one of the things this essay focused on. And really, what the Christian way has to I believe, is somewhat enlighten the Muslims to this call to love. That we have a God of love who's not just about being worshipped and adored as our master, but being loved also as our friend. And even the spousal language that we use with God, which for the Muslim people, the people of the faith of Islam, would be somewhat would be blasphemous on some level. So we have to pray for the continued dialogue there, but we're certainly grateful. Ramon has the title of Blessed, given that in the Franciscan circles. So certainly honored for his commitment to his faith, and we still pray for the missionary activity of the church. So thank you for joining me today, and have a great day. God bless.